So back here at Hersheypark. I'm here for my preview. Park closes at 10 o'clock. I'm staying at the campground, so I get in at 7. I'm expecting very long lines. Seems to be, that's the norm for Hersheypark. It's become another Cedar Point where you better buy Fast Pass if you want to have a chance at getting a decent number of rides. If you're only going to do one day here, you better have had a full experience here in the past, or buy the Fast Pass, or whatever they call it here. So if you stay at the campground, they drop you off over here. That's also where you're going to get back on board. And the front entrance is over here. So it is pretty close to the front gate, although if you buy a season pass, which is the only way I've experienced this in the past, you get to park just right up there, right to the left of the building over there. All right, inside the park now with the 3-hour preview. If you are not staying on site at either one of their hotels or their campground, you get a 2-hour preview. So tonight, closing at 10 o'clock, got in at 7. Candymonium does have riders on it now. The fountain is not running. 45-minute posted wait time. Line's not too long, even with the stuff station. Yeah, that didn't take long at all. When I rode this 3 years ago, the air time felt like it was trying to launch you into the stratosphere. Now it's pretty mild ejector. It's still really good, but it isn't to the level of what it was before. I don't know if maybe they slowed down the lift a little bit when they made all the modifications, but it just didn't seem like it was going as fast as before. Is it still top 25 overall? Maybe not. Still top 40? Yeah, probably. But I say Storm Runner now has a chance at topping this for me. Oh yeah, after that, Storm Runner over Skyrush. I got a front row ride. I forgot how incredible that launch is. It's a complete layout. I can't believe I ever put Skyrush over Storm Runner, but I always did, but not anymore. At this point, with the way Skyrush is now, Storm Runner's better. And after that ride, I might even put Storm Runner over King Dakar. See, Chickies and Pete's. They have these at the Cedar Fair parks. But there, they have the cheesesteaks. Where's the cheesesteaks? All I see is fries. What? Yeah, forget that. At Wildcat, just as great as ever. Most underrated ride at Hersheypark. And Wildcat's got good airtime. So, do not RMC this. Well, this is my first sight of it in person. I've not looked up the layout of this, even though it's been open for a while. Even though this one kind of upsets me because I thought Wildcat was a good ride. It might not have been a top tier GCI, but it was a very good one. It was smooth for a wood coaster. It had really good airtime. It just had a couple dud elements. It could have been better, but it was not a bad ride. Still, no matter what, this is better. And I haven't even ridden it yet. It's obviously going to be better. Still, I would have preferred them to do a ground up and leave Wildcat alone. Might not have been possible. So this is what we got. Glad I got several rides on Wildcat before it closed. I do think it's been overhyped by a lot of people. But even with people overhyping it, I still expect it to be great. Possibly the best in the park. Although after that ride on Storm Runner, that's going to be tough to beat.
It's bigger and faster than my airplane one.
Okay, I just got my very first ride on Wildcat's Revenge back row, and this thing is phenomenal. That airtime was just ridiculous. The laterals mixed in, the variety, and after that, Skyrush, I'm sorry, you're number 3 in the park. Storm Runner, sorry, you remain number 2. You had a good 30 minutes as my favorite ride in the park, but not anymore. Probably speaking a little recency bias, I think I'm a little coaster drunk right now because that was phenomenal. We'll see how I feel about it after several more laps tomorrow. But I want to get a couple Lightning Racer night rides. I've never gotten a night ride on it. Okay, so it was cool to get a night ride, but when did they stop racing Lightning Racer? I'm hoping that that's just a today thing, that maybe they're having a problem with the other train and that they normally do race. But if that has become the norm, that they no longer race, that they only run one side, that really exposes Lightning Racer. Like, I'm one of its biggest fans, but the best thing about that ride is the racing. And if you're not racing, then that really exposes the ride for kind of not being as forceful as you would want it to be. Because I'm just going along the track there and I'm thinking, oh, we should be doing the flybys of the other train. We should be doing the crossovers. And yeah, it's not happening. That's what I'm afraid of, that maybe they took staff away from Lightning Racer and put it on Wildcat's Revenge. And without the extra staff, they can only run one side of Lightning Racer. The 0G stall is kind of a quick one, but the exit of the stall is incredible. That's got to be the best exit of the stall of any of them. But still, Air Force One stall is the best. I finished my preview day with a ride on Fahrenheit. Surprisingly, it was only 15 minutes. I got in line at 9:43 and I was on the ride at 9:58. Unfortunately, that meant not enough time to get back in line. In fact, they had just put the chain up when I was getting off the ride. So I got 2 rides on Wildcat's Revenge and 1 each on Skyrush, Storm Runner, Fahrenheit, Lightning Racer. During my 3 hours of preview, especially with this being a Sunday, I was expecting to have like hour or more lines, hoping to get just 3 rides in, and I ended up with 6. When you're talking like 15, 20, 30 minutes, at 30 minutes at the most, really, that was kind of Lightning Racer. The others were like 15, 20 minutes. On a day when the midways are packed full of people, yeah, that's not a bad line at all. That was really great to finally get some night rides at Hersheypark. Hey, the fountain's running. Don't know when they turned that back on. So a few differences with the early entry operations from the last time I was here. In the past, they would start letting you in at about 15 till, maybe 10 till. But now they are waiting all the way up till the moment. Actually, a couple minutes after. It was 9:02, they started letting us in. And it moves a lot slower than it did 3 years ago. I don't think it's open yet. I don't think they're ready yet, so I'm gonna head on. And this is another change from 3 years ago. I guess anybody can get scanned into the front entrance, even during the early entry time, but they have it blocked off. So then you gotta show your season pass that allows you early access or your wristband from a Hershey property. So if you don't have the Sweet Start early access, you can still get through the front gate. You'll just be held up in that front plaza area. Ah, they ruined Comet. Those new trains. Why do you have to get rid of the buzz bars? Guaranteed stapling now. It's not a bad ride, but still, it would be so much better with the buzz bars. It's not completely ruined, but still, unless you can get on in like 1 or 2 train wait, yeah, don't bother if you've got the credit. But now heading to a much better ride, even though it also was partially ruined with new trains. I think ruined is a very strong word on this because this ride is still incredible. It just was neutered a bit. I just now noticed, yesterday was the first time I've ever gotten to ride all 3 Intamins on the same day. In 2020, Storm Runner was down all year. In June 2021, Storm Runner was still down. Fahrenheit was also down. I only got to ride Skyrush. And then when I came back in July 2021, Fahrenheit and Storm Runner were up, but Skyrush was down because it broke the cable lift. So yesterday was the first time I've ever ridden all 3 on the same day. Best thing about Storm Runner is that the exit is right next to the entrance. And there's no line, you can just get right back on. So easy, so quick. It has built up a station wait now, but for quite a while there, I was walking right onto the next train. I basically was alternating one side to the other because the train that I just got off would be dispatched by the time I got back up, and then the other one would be coming back in and I'd be walking right on. I got 10 laps in under an hour, and that final ride was in the front row. That's the only one I had to wait for. I had to wait one cycle. I figured I'm gonna keep lapping this thing until it builds up a station wait. Well, it's built up a station wait now. I don't think I've ever gotten 10 rides in under an hour on anything without exclusive ride time, but I did with this one. So during early entry, I rode Comet, Skyrush, Super Duper Looper, and then right when the regular park opened, I did Fahrenheit, got on the second train out. I did the Jolly Rancher remix, the Boomerang. I like the re-theming of it, and it does smell like Jolly Ranchers in the tunnel there. But then, once Storm Runner opened, just kept lapping it over and over. I thought about doing Wildcat's Revenge first, but that's what 95% of the people were doing. So I did Fahrenheit, then came over here. That was a right call. Never would have imagined. Park's been open officially for under an hour and a half, and I have gotten 15 coaster rides already. It's not even noon yet. So Skyrush used to have thigh crushing restraints. Now they have ball crushing restraints. On my third ride, I realized what it is about these restraints I don't like. I saw the little notch that is right at your crotch, and it is not good for us guys. Having said that, it's not a deal breaker, but it is crushing your groin. And it does come down tighter and tighter. In fact, I think it comes down tighter now than it did before with the old restraints. But in the past, it would be pressing down on my legs, which to me is no big deal. It wasn't painful, it just was awkward. This is actually painful. So when we reach the brake run and it releases a little bit, that is such a relief. I don't know, I haven't asked other guys about it, but I haven't heard guys complaining about it yet again. Just like with Pipeline the Nut Crusher at SeaWorld Orlando. You're just not getting kicked in the groin like on Pipeline. With this one, you're just getting pressure. Like I said, I don't mind pressure on the legs. Didn't mind it on T3, didn't mind it with the old restraints here in Skyrush. These new restraints probably will be overall more popular. It just, I prefer the old ones. Got on Wildcat's Revenge in the front row. Took 45 minutes from the time I got in line till the time I was on. Now that's more reasonable. A 2-hour line for Candymonium, 3 hours for Great Bear, that is not reasonable. I can understand how Candymonium can get a long line because it's in the front of the park, people go there first. I don't know why it still has a long line midday, an even longer line midday than at the start. And I definitely don't understand how Great Bear always has the longest line in the park. Especially since it is like way hidden in the back of the park. Normally those coasters that are hidden in the back don't get long lines. Great Bear is the exception. They've had 45 minutes posted as the wait time, but I actually waited 30 minutes both times. So that 2-hour line around noon was pretty crazy, but it's a lot shorter now. That 2 hours was probably overestimating also. I waited for the front row on that second one, otherwise I would have been on in about 20-25 minutes. One great thing about waiting for this ride is that it is all covered. It's all kind of indoors. It's not air conditioned in there, but it's a lot more comfortable in there than being out in the sun, even though it's not a hot day today. Now, one problem with Candymonium is the glacial operations. Now, part of that is because of guests. Everyone's got to put their luggage off to the side. And also, probably because of that, they don't open the gates until everyone is completely clear. So even though I waited 30 minutes, with the length of the line that was, if this was Great Adventure with Nitro, that line would be 15 minutes, 20 at the most. And actually, because of that, they ought to just run 2 trains on this. You'd get the people off sooner. Running 3 trains does not speed up operations on this ride at all, because they will literally always double stack. There's no way to get, let's see what we got. That's the Hershey's, that's the Reese's, it's Twizzlers that's in the station right now. There was no chance to get Twizzlers train out before Reese's got here. So there's no reason to ever run 3 trains on this. Hershey's not the only one that does things like that. There's other parks that have done it too, that on rides where there is literally no benefit at all to running 3 trains. Why run 3? Just run 2. Now, Wildcat's Revenge, the only thing that makes that better is that you have the separate load and unload platform. So people can unload while the other train is loading, and then you got another one out on the course. But it just gets messy. See, they're still sitting there. And with last ride of the night, not only that, 10 rides in total for the trip, 2 last night, 8 today. Of those 8, 7 of them came in the last 3 hours. And of those, 3 came in the last 30 minutes. The line basically disappeared at the end. Just about. Had to run really fast. I was one of the last people to get back in line. They ended it on such a great note. Just spent the last 3+ hours marathoning this. Well, marathoning it as best you can, because it did have about a 45-minute line whenever I started it. Then it kept shrinking. Now, I loved the old Wildcat. I thought it was a really good coaster. This is a phenomenal coaster. Oh, and that's it from Hersheypark. Don't know when I'll ever be back. Wildcat's Revenge sent the last train out, and I was on it 20 minutes ago. Candymonium still cycling with riders. That just tells you how much the ride ops of Wildcat's Revenge were crushing it, and how they need to teach the other ride ops a lesson on how to move people through quick. Because Candymonium, Fahrenheit, everything else, still cycling riders. Wildcat's Revenge, long been done. Those ride ops are already home.